We are live, baby. And we are here to talk about this very uneventful week. I feel like nothing happened in the news this week, right, ladies? I am joined by two incredible women. Stacey Williams, who is the 27th Trump accuser. Congratulations. I can't believe it took that many women for people to pay attention, he still got elected. And now people are maybe coming around to the fact that the things that women have been saying about him all these years maybe are true. Stacey, you dated Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein actually introduced you to Donald Trump. And so we're going to talk about the week in news, your reaction to everything that's happened. We also have Tara Palmieri, who is the foremost voice and really reporting force behind the Epstein investigation. You've been covering this story for years before it was one of the biggest headlines in the world. So let's start with you, Tara. What are your reactions to all of these emails that have come out this week?
I'm just, obviously sorry. I'm
Yeah.
still
We can
processing it
take it
all.
back.
It's 20,000 emails and all of them are Trump, 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 Trump. It just shows how close they were. And I think for everyone who wants to be like, oh, they were just casually friends, I think this really lays out that they have a strong history to the point where Epstein claims to know even about his mortgages, says he has pictures with girls that he could use, talks about the fact that he's in the house, which is something that, the Trump White House has denied. They've denied for so long so many things that are completely inaccurate, including the fact that, like, he kicked Epstein out of the club. No, they were so close that he didn't need a membership. They were besties. Like, he just went to Mar-a-Lago, and you saw that in the emails. And there's just and what I've been told from people close to the White House is they're just, like, not allowed to ask Trump any questions about the Epstein story. So anything you're hearing from spokespeople is just not going to be accurate coming out of that White House. And it's just all going to blow up in their face in this
What?
huge cover up. Everyone who's speaking for him is just going to look really dumb. And they should just say, I don't know anything, and just tell
Yeah.
everyone, tell the world. There's no
Robert
America.
says there are more pictures with Trump and Epstein than Batman and Robin. I don't know. We can fact check that, but I believe that. So what you're hearing is that. So obviously we've heard the press secretary, get asked questions about this and deny that these emails mean anything. So what you're saying is that all of the people who have spoken on behalf of the Trump administration have spoken not based on any conversations that they've had with Donald Trump about it. Like, this is just them sort of blindly defending him and with information that might not even be true.
I don't know where they're getting the information from, or he's lying, or it's just like, yeah, it's just none of it makes any sense at all. And I was just told, like, people are told, don't ask him, don't ask him. In fact, like, some people that are close to Trump are calling me and asking me, and I'm just like,
Oh my God. If
they're like,
you
how
know
bad
what
is it?
happened,
I'm like,
wow. But I want to talk to you a little, and I know you're going to have to go. You're this is your beat. We need you in 18 places right now, and I really am thankful that you're here with us for a few more minutes. But we've seen actually something really new happen, which is a lot of Republicans defecting from Trump because of this. So we know that Thomas Massie, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, NC Mace are all, signed the petition. Some of them have even sort of spoken, and sort of shown that they might be breaking with Trump on this. Do you think this will do anything? I think that there are so many of us who have been watching Trump get caught in sexual abuse scandals after sexual abuse scandals and sort of nothing happened. Do you think that this is different? This week is different?
it's just that it's showing they doesn't have a grip on the party anymore. And that's really a big deal. I mean, once you get about 10 members voting against it, and already I think there's about 8, I might be right, that are going to vote not against it, for the bill, against him, that are GOP members. I think then the dominoes start to fall. And then, like, if you get a veto-proof majority, it makes it really difficult for the others to vote against releasing the files. And then it puts him in the very awkward position of having a bill on his desk. Maybe they don't get the veto proof majority and then he vetoes it. Or maybe he passes it and tells his Justice Department, just send them all the send it all redacted the way it's been right now, like basically what you see when you look at the Epstein files right now. I don't know, Stacey, do you ever look at the files and you're like, that's me, but it's all redacted? I mean, have you ever had that experience when you look at the Epstein files that are available?
No, and honestly, I haven't looked at them too much. Um, I just want to correct one thing. So Jeffrey didn't introduce me to Donald. I knew Donald before.
Okay.
And so, yes, so I met each of them separately. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. We can get into that later. And I've spoken many times off the record, all the way back to 2016, about what happened to Vanity Fair. 2 or 3 times I'm in there. So just
Oh,
mentioning.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'm in them. A couple people asked me. I mean, I could be. I haven't looked closely. I can only stomach this for so long. I have enough information to go out there and get my points across and share my story, and then that's kind of where I leave it for my own mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I mean, and also the files are so expansive. Something I was thinking about today actually was Megyn Kelly. I don't know if you've heard what
Well,
she
yeah.
said. Stacey, like you must have a lot of thoughts on this. I know you do, Liz.
It's appalling. It's appalling.
So let's just for people who haven't seen it, I'm very jealous of your sanity and brain. Megyn Kelly on her show said that she had talked to someone who knew Jeffrey Epstein, and that basically saying like pedophilia is a spectrum. Let's normalize men, basically because he was into girls who were 15, not 5 years old. Maybe we shouldn't be calling him a pedophile. So Tara, yeah, what are you well, the both of you, what are your thoughts on that?
Well,
Well,
I was just gonna say,
sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead, Tara. I was going to say, but just to point out that she was the one that told the Republican Party they should go after Russell Brand for raping a 16-year-old, and suddenly like a 13 or 14-year-old's okay. So anyway, go ahead. I just want to read.
yeah, no, I mean, all of the hypocrisy around that, but also I've listened to a lot of the tapes of the police chief for Carey, Detective for Carey, and the chief Michael Ryder interviewing a lot of these teenage girls from the local high school where they built that pyramid scheme. And if you listen to their voices, these are very young girls. One of the girls is so young, she's 14, that she refers to Epstein's penis as a wee wee. I am sorry, but how is that not a child? So I like when the first thing I thought when I heard that was I remembered those tapes, like, and it gave me the chills. And I was like, you need to hear those tapes for yourself, Megyn Kelly. You need to go sit in a dark room, put those earbuds on, and listen to every single hour of those tapes. And they're actually on the internet. Like, you can look at them right now. They are on the FBI's website. And that should make every defender of Epstein, and believe me, there are some of them out there, these weird incels, they are out there and they are defending Jeffrey Epstein. They're being paid probably by really powerful men, by the way, to do that, to tear apart people like you and me and all of us so that we will be quiet. But if
Yeah.
you actually listen to these tapes, you will not walk away for a second thinking that this 52-year-old man was not preying on children. Courtney Wild showed up at his house with braces on
Oh,
at 14.
God.
It's
yeah.
horrible.
It also flies in the face of expertise, which is something we haven't heard. I mean, we know that your brain isn't fully developed until you're 26. So there's a complete child psychology expertise aspect to this that which everything she says flies in the face of on top of it. Let alone our innate sort of human truthful gut response to it, which is that it's appalling and disgusting.
Yeah, it is such an out of pocket take, right? Like
Oh,
Yeah.
normalized pedophilia is such an out of pocket take. She has a 14-year-old daughter, right? Like there's just like parts of it that just are
I
sort of
don't know if you
impossible.
can recover from something like that, but
Well,
maybe in the
that's my
MAGA
next
right you can.
question.
right.
Like, do you think there will be because I tweeted this, but it was like in a normal world, the president would have already stepped down, and in a normal world, Megyn Kelly would no longer have a radio show, right? Like, in a normal world, this would have happened already. Can we expect ramifications, or is 2025 just one of those years where, like, every up is down and down is up. I'm seeing a lot of people, social media users, people who are listening to this live right now, call on, Sirius to cancel her show, for advertisers to be, removing themselves from her show. Like, do you think anything will sort of happen, or are we just in this era where everything goes?
I mean, she's on a billboard, like Sirius XM put her on a billboard in Times Square right now. So this is America, people.
Right.
Like, I don't know what to say.
Right.
There are no cancel culture, whatever. People can defend pedophiles. Who knows what's next? Like, everyone's gonna get a Nazi tattoo. Jesus, I don't know anymore.
Right.
I'm tired too, so maybe I might say something I might regret, but I know that it will be in defense of morality. That's the one thing I can tell you for sure. And honestly,
yeah,
I'm gonna let you guys take it away.
Yeah,
I'm sorry that I was
thank you
late,
for
and I'm
joining
sorry
us.
to everyone who waited.
No, we appreciate
I
it.
am
And,
on
and
a
if Megyn Kelly
deadline.
doesn't get canceled for saying normalized pedophilia, like, there's nothing you can say that'll get you canceled. Let me just put it that way. That's the world we live in. I think you're good. Thank you so much, Kira. Thank you for all your reporting.
It was
You're so
great to meet
fearless.
you, Stacey. Yeah, and
it.
I'm really in awe of what you've done, and the fact that you keep speaking out. I can only imagine what that's like, and like having to relive it all. So we would not be here if it wasn't for the strength of all of the survivors who came forward and told their stories, and they continue to every single day. And really, really, really grateful to you.
Well, no, and thank you. Honestly, it's always a relief to see you in my stream. I'm like, okay, she's not stopping. Like, you just knowing solid ground, but you're part of that solid ground under us, that helps. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Please take a nap.
Cheers. Okay.
Love you.
Bye.
Stacey, how does it feel to have persisted all of these years with your story? You've said that you've been groped by Trump. There's, again, you're the 27th woman to come forward with a very similar story. We heard him confess, that this is what he likes in an Access Hollywood tape that now came out almost 10 years ago, which almost broke my brain. That actually was, that I needed to take a minute when I realized that this week. I think there's a feeling, and please, people in the chat, tell me if you're feeling this too. I feel like there's a feeling, and this feeling must be, exponentially bigger for you, Stacey. There's this feeling of relief, right? That people seem to think that there's finally a smoking gun, that we finally have, the kind of evidence to really sort of bring down, someone who is an abuser. But at the same time, there's this frustration, right? That it took this much information for this to possibly even happen. Are you feeling mixed emotions this week? I would guess.
Yes. And I think, clearly anytime we get some progress, which is happening, we're up to 218 votes, right? I think last I checked, and the message is getting out there. So that feels like, I'm getting some sense of catharsis from that. But like, the lengths we've had to go to, and we're not in the clear yet. So he gets a veto proof majority, and that is just like staggering when you take in. I mean, or how about someone like Megyn Kelly moving the goalposts on what pedophilia is? Like, I mean, what a legacy for Megyn Kelly. I mean, could be more disgusting. I think things are still bad, and there's some good happening, and all of us just have to stay focused and keep pushing on the truth, and hopefully enjoying some good wine here and there.
What are you drinking? I know I should have sent you a bottle of wine.
I'd rather, we're both Angelinos, so maybe we'll find a way to.
We'll find a way to make it work. But yeah, Elizabeth says, it's gross. It's a travesty that it takes so many women coming forward to bring him to justice. Have you spoken to any survivors this week? Have you heard even from some of the, Epstein survivors, how they're feeling?
So I have never met an Epstein survivor. My story is just quickly, in case anyone missed it.
Let's
with that model back in the 90s. And in 1993, I dated him very briefly. It took a few months to realize that he was a sociopath, and I ended it. And I was also busy. I was traveling a lot with my career. But what he was very, very close to Donald. He was with him all the time. He was, his wingman. And one time, Jeffrey and I were strolling, and down Fifth Avenue, he said, "Let's go in and see Donald." Which, its retrospect, even at that moment, it felt like orchestrated. And anyway, he walked me into Donald's office, and Donald groped me, and the two of them just kept talking while he did it. And I was so shocked that it was happening in this office. The assistant was walking by, and it's like I've said this repeatedly, but everything Trump does is hidden in its brazenness. So, had he done that in a dark alleyway, he would have been maced like I've done before with men. And there would have been some kind of response. I wouldn't have frozen. But, when it's happening in broad daylight in an office with a bunch of people around, it's stunning. And I just froze. And then Jeffrey got very upset afterwards. And that's when I realized it was this orchestrated kind of like twisted game, that it was like a challenge. So that's the story. Early 90s, that way predates, I think. Most of the women, he didn't have the reputation. Nobody thought of him or knew of him as a pedophile, nor did I, obviously. All of that stuff came later when that phenomenal Miami Herald article came out. So I've never met any of them. That said, I speak to survivors on a daily basis because there are so many of them in my life. And if you're a woman, throw a rock, right?
Mm-hmm. What can you tell me? Can we double click on so you say that Donald Trump gropes you, and then Jeffrey Epstein gets angry. What is he angry about? Is he angry about the fact that he's doing it in front of him, or?
Yeah, he said repeatedly after we left the building, we were out on the street, he said, "Why did you let him do that?" And he shamed me and verbally abused me on the street. And I remember thinking like, yes, why did I? I was so shocked because, Jeffrey knew I had shared with him that I was really struggling with my agency and with the industry because I was seen as combative. I was fighting with scumbag photographers, I was standing up to people, and so I was seen as combative and difficult for absolutely refusing to be like sexually exploited or abused, which was combative in the industry. And so he knew that about me, and he thought it was funny, and he knew some stories of some things I'd done to men. And then, Donald has his reputation, which was confirmed with his own words on Access Hollywood. So I think it was kind of an idea. And Donald knew who I was, and he was he had met me before, and he was inappropriately flirty with me in front of Marla and some other incidents. And so I think Jeffrey, in his mind, it was like, well, this is one that's not going to let you get away with your shtick. And he took me in there, and I did because I froze. And it made angry. And then I'm sure it was twisted. There was also probably some like, well, this is my girlfriend. I mean, it was layered. I mean, he's a sociopath. We really want to put that much time trying to deconstruct these guys. We just need to end,
I'm so sorry that happened. I can't imagine a worse just series of events to have to go through. One of the things that was pretty striking from the emails was that again, there's so many of them and there's so much to talk about. But I think one of the things that really struck me was that you had someone like Jeffrey Epstein, who I think we can categorically agree is just extremely ghoulish and a criminal and just a disgusting human being, right? Like, if you were to, create a spectrum of like evilness, and this isn't my opinion. This was, he was in jail for a reason. So, but we had someone like Jeffrey Epstein saying that he was disgusted by Donald Trump. And that in itself, I think is quite something. So you've spent time with the both of them, and I don't, I don't want to put you in any kind of position to say something that you, don't want to share, but would you would you categorize, like, who's worse, or are they just both like peas in a pod?
Oh, I think, I think they were drawn to each other for a reason. I think they mirrored each other a lot. And clearly, I can share from personal experience, they were not up to no good. So I know that Jeffrey at some point pissed him off enough that it appears that, Jeffrey has negative things to say about him, but he certainly didn't when we were friends. He talked about him probably almost every time we were together. Or I remember thinking, like, dude, is that your only friend? I mean, like, that he and Galan, so yeah. So I mean, I think they're both, ship magnets drawn to one another.
Mhm. And this claim that the White House press secretary is making that somehow Donald Trump hasn't been friends, wasn't friends with him for years. He kicked him out of the club. This didn't happen. I mean, do you believe any of that based on your own experience of the both of them and seeing their friendship up close?
These little boys are so capable of impulsive, childish tantrums and moments that it's easy to entertain any of this stuff. But so unless I know for sure, I don't want to speculate.
Yeah.
But none of it would surprise me. Would anything surprise you today at all?
Mm.
No.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I guess, yeah, to be more specific, when you hear Donald Trump say, I had nothing to do with it, I didn't even know this was going on, do
yeah.
you believe him?
Well, I mean, as a woman who was, groped by Donald Trump in front of Jeffrey, um, it's hard for me to believe that he's just this innocent victim, given my firsthand experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just have to leave it at that. I will say that these women who have come forward who are trafficked by Jeffrey, I believe them and I support them and I have their backs, and they deserve justice.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. We are going to be pivoting to a different block about a different topic. But before we go, I do you have a message for some of the Republican, members of Congress and Senate and members or even members of Trump, the Trump administration more broadly, who are on the fence about whether to stay loyal to Donald Trump at this point?
Oh, how many hours do you have?
As long as you want.
No. Honestly, listen, I will say this to the Republican Party. It was never in your job criteria to protect pedophiles, ever. So do the right thing and stop being so disgusting. It's pretty simple.
Thoughts on that? It's pretty easy. It's not
Or
very complicated.
find your moral compass and think about whether you or not you would want your daughter, your wife, your mother, your sister in the position of any of these women who are coming forward telling these stories.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
Beck and Kelly as well.
Yeah, and if you wanna call yourself the family values party,
Please.
to that, I mean, at this point, yeah, I just that was the to me this week. I mean, and we didn't even have time to really go into Matt Gaetz. The Matt Gaetz of it all, who, was basically preying on a homeless woman, a homeless girl, who just needed money to pay for her braces. I mean, speaking of braces,
Please.
Tara's point,
This, and it's fascinating that this is
yeah.
where they're cementing their brand. Couldn't have happened to a better group of people.
Yep, yep. Well, thank you, Stacey, for your courage, your grit. You have been out here just risking your life, truly, to do this work, to tell the truth about what happened to you. And we are really, you're just, you're a national treasure, and we love you and we appreciate you. And please come back on the show. I hope there's no more news about this, but hopefully there's positive developments and we get to celebrate with you in the following weeks.
I hope so too. And I'm a huge fan and I'm so honored. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Stacey.
Bye, girlfriend. Take care.
Bye. Okay, so now we are switching gears. We're going to be joined by a very mystic and very cool woman. Wait, I'm looking for you, Mystic Michaela. She does aura readings. And I thought it would be a fun way to close out a big week. It's been intense. And let's see. I hope my internet is still good. I feel like it's being a little dodgy. But yeah, we're waiting for Mystic Michaela. Oh, there she is.
Hi,
Hi!
how are you?
We're really rolling into topic after topic. I love everything that you're doing. Mystic Michaela, you're an aura expert. You read the auras of and people, but also like public figures and politicians. And we thought it would be a really good time for you to do maybe an aura reading of some of the characters of the week.
I would love that. I would love that. Yeah, listen, I see colors around people, but I'm a very normal person-ish.
No, I don't believe that. No one is normal.
Yeah.
Everyone's special, but you're really special.
I used to be a teacher, so that's my roots are in education, and I was teaching middle school Spanish actually for years, but I would always see energy colors around people, like life force energies, and I would use it to help kids learn, basically. So it was differentiating education based on aura colors. So here you are, then you're yeah, so it was, yellow auras like grammar, for example, or red auras are competitive, so make it a game. Little things like that. But there's more to it. It's kind of like the story of you that you bring to any situation you're in. And people read it and the universe reads it, and you can have more control over that story that you tell, that story that you bring before you speak one word, by understanding the energy, like the vibes you're giving out.
Cool. I love that. Okay, well, let's start. And if you don't want to do this because it's too low vibes, we don't have to. But what about the colors around Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein? Do
my
they
gosh.
auras have anything in common? Do they differ? Can you tell us about what the colors tell us about them?
We're jumping right into Aura 2.0. I do these things on my Substack. I call them like Aura doodles.
Yeah.
So I'll just make really bad drawings of auras. People, but
I've seen them. They're not bad. They're amazing.
Thank you. Okay. So here's the deal. And I think this is the big problem. Trump doesn't have an empath color. This is a really big problem. Everybody that you meet is two aura colors. Usually they are a logic color or an empath color with an empath color. So everybody has an empath color, okay, basically. Right. And what that means is you feel other people's feelings at some capacity
Level, yeah.
And at some level you feel it. Depending on so many factors, you react in different ways. Okay.
Got it.
So yeah, and it's interesting because when he's feeling sorry for himself, I noticed that an empath color will pop its way out, but more in a tune of victimization. Or
empathy for himself.
You made me feel bad. You made me feel less than. You made me feel. I did like a whole post about his mommy issues. Like, you made me feel, right? I mean, we all feel.
Does he have more mommy issues than daddy issues? Is that what you're? Because I feel like no one has really brought up mommy issues.
I feel like his mom just never paid it. I mean, listen, I don't know these people at all. Like, obviously, like I'm an aura reader, but I feel like with him, what happens is he feels this need to be seen and loved and cared for, and he just looks for it in other places, and the place that he looks for it is in sensitive people or people with empath colors that are kind of out and messy, and so energy's food, and some people eat it, and they use it for power, and they use it to feed themselves. But yeah, he doesn't have an empath color. He's actually orange, which is hysterical, and red. And I to the orange thing, because I always feel like I'm not being funny. Like, he really is orange. And what happens is we can get very attracted to our energy color if we want to keep it in our field.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So he, to me, when now orange is a very hard color to keep, and you have to do a lot of things to keep it in your energy. And one of the things you have to do is you have to constantly change it up or break a system in order to watch it dissolve and build it back up.
Oh, yikes. I mean, that's him to a T. So, and even, if you look at narcissists, many psychologists have diagnosed him that way. I think it's hard to argue that that's not what's happening. They feed off of your energy, right? I mean, that's the, narcissistic supply, right? So they sort of use other people in order to sort of, they take your energy in order to inhabit it. Is that sort of what you see happening?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's taking people and putting them in a situation where they're vulnerable and then basically harvesting everything for yourself. It's like a energy drink is a really bad way to describe it. But it's
Wow.
like taking a shot. Like you gotta drive all night. You stop at the bad gas station, you get the energy drinks, and you're like, all right, I'm doing it. But they do that to people and they do that to a system. So, like, him breaking this system is no different than if you have a narcissistic mother, for example, who starts this crap on, Christmas or whatever. Like let me break everyone down, and then I just get all my supply, all my energy from the chaos. And
Whoa.
he does that all the time. But Epstein, he had a purple and green aura. Now, aura colors themselves aren't bad. I always say this, like, auras aren't excuses, but they do explain behavior, and
Yeah.
intention is the key. It's always intention. So when I see green purple auras who are normal, like, usually they are CEOs, they're in charge of big projects, they have amazing creative vision. But with him, it's funny because his Jeffrey Epstein's aura was always like the purple was always out to play.
Okay.
Purple is creative, intuitive, um, and they like the medium of other people's excitement.
Mm.
So, and then the green it's always like a boxy around him. It's systematic. I call it like engineer brain. Like
Uh,
like the system, like the cogs in the machine are these victims. And what does he get out of it? A feeling of control. And I don't know the guy, obviously, but like I get a sense that he had a really sick sense of humor. Like I get
mhm.
the sense he liked making people feel uncomfortable or cringy or stressed or just like disgusted with themselves. And that was his currency. That's what it
Mm.
feels like to me. When I see normal green, purple aura people, usually they do some sort of project where they get, for example, they're usually like directors or, like I said, CEOs. Like, how do I get the team to perform at their best? I'll have this workshop or I'll have this pep talk or whatever. He just
Right.
used it in a more nefarious way.
Right. Wow.
But
So
yeah.
this is fascinating. What would be the aura color of a person who could stop, someone like Donald Trump or stop someone like Jeffrey Epstein? Like, what kind of colors does that person sort of need to have? Or is there anyone out there that you find has the aura that matches or is effective in combating their, n- you know, n- I don't even negativity is like the euphemism of the year, but yeah, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like right now what we're seeing is you cannot speak to him in logic. Like, you have to get him in the insecurities. So I see, not that Gavin Newsom is, I think, some sort of amazing person, but he's doing it. He's getting
Yeah, he's
him.
effective.
He's effective, and he is, I feel like, bugging the heck out of this guy. And you kind of need somebody to go right for these parts of him, Trump's vision, that have to be perfect. So I noticed with
Mm.
Trump lately, his aura is really thick. And what that tells me is he just doesn't deal with reality outside of what he wants it to be or is writing it to be. So
Uh-huh.
if you come in and you're like, you just say something like a bully would say, basically, which is what Gavin's doing, it immediately, he can't, his ego, which is the
Mm.
most fragile thing, cannot handle it. So I feel like that's how you can bring them down. It's
Mm.
so interesting because I do follow this, I'm obviously not a journalist or not anything, but these emails that come out that a lot, I don't know, people are like, what is this between Bill Clinton and Trump? I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's going to bother him more than anything with young girls for, which is hysterical because it's not illegal, that's the thing that's going to get him image,
Yeah.
appearance. How do I
Yeah.
explain that one?
Right. It's so interesting that you're saying that because, having covered him in 2016, um, he would go into, if anyone remembers, he was this wild card, it felt like a publicity stunt. He'd already used it as a publicity stunt to sell his book, I think, before 2015. And, but he, showed up at these Republican debates and he just really dominated, and not, I'm not, qualifying that in a positive or negative way, but he was domineering. I mean, Jeb Bush at the time was seen as the obvious front runner, and he just interrupted. He was, belittling pretty effectively pretty much every guy on stage. And these were not, these were prominent Republicans, and Jeb Bush's case, part of basically the political royalty. And so, but then there was a comment about his hands at one point. I think it was Marco Rubio that was like, well, and I'm, if anyone remembers exactly how the chain of events, I feel like our brain, there's just been too much that has happened, and it's given us actually amnesia. But, I think it was like, everyone knows this, he has small hands, and on everything else that they'd attacked him on hiring undocumented immigrants, on not paying his workers, on being bankrupt, right? Like, there were very big accusations, about sort of very important, sort of pillars of the image that he was presenting. And the small hands thing, he was like, my hands, I remember what he said. He said something like, if you've seen them, there's nothing wrong with them or something. It was so weird. It was like, why are you, wow, like, yeah, like that bothers you more than those things. So what you're saying is really interesting, that maybe, yeah, one of the most, the sort of injury, from this week might actually be about, the sort of, perception that, I don't know, he's like in with Bill Clinton, or I don't know, that there's like tension there. I don't know. That's really funny. Okay, so what is your reading of us as a collective? Do you do group aura readings, like being part of this live, like this community?
Totally. You know what it is? I feel like a lot of us, when I talk about the empath auras, basically, that I talk about purple, indigo, turquoise, and blue. Okay, basically, and we all have one of those somewhere in our aura field. And what it is usually, we are in our own lives, we hear something and it affects us, and we feel a lot deeper than other people do. Yeah. And especially when we lead with these colors, or we have two. Okay, and what happens is when you hear these things, it can set you back. And we can just feel like sick and tired and exhausted and isolated. I feel like what's happening now is that we're getting a little louder. And even though most of us don't like confrontation, or we don't want to pay attention to stuff that's negative, or, if it really bothers I feel like it's starting to bother us to the point where we're like, actually, no, I do care if kids eat. And I do care, and if you want to call me a liberal or whatever, I don't call me anything, but this is how I feel. And I think we're finding other people who are like, yeah, duh. And this is the movement that's like necessary for us to get together and stop suppressing it with labels of, oh, you're too sensitive, or you're a bleeding heart, or that's not how things happen. With actually, that's how everything happens. Yeah. And I'm not shoving it down. So I feel like the collective is appreciating empathy in a way that it wasn't before. It's not weakness. It's actually a really loud voice.
Yeah, I love that analysis. And I think we've seen it, obviously, with, these just children. I mean, really, just they're going after kids. And it's, started with the SNAP benefits. I mean, it started way before that, as we know. But in this sort of recent, news cycle, I would say, just taking food stamps away from starving kids. It's just so inhumane. We've seen it with the way that they've been targeting, that ICE has been targeting families and exposing children to, ripping kids away from their parents. And we've seen, suburban moms, for example, gather together and defend their communities. And there's something, and then, obviously this week with defending, pedophiles and having, a potentially, one of those people, leading the so-called free world. And I feel like there's this like mama bear, almost like, right? There's this, I think you're right that empathic people can be seen as weaker, or when you have empathy, I think you feel like the loser in the situation because you care, and you're going up against people who don't or who care less, and that creates somehow this power dynamic where you're the loser or you have more to lose. But yeah, I think you're right. It's if you're alone, sure, you can feel like you can't sort of match the energy of people who don't have empathy and who are sort of taking away things from people because they have the power to. But as a collective, that's when it's like a fierce kind of
Yeah.
empathy. I think that's what we're seeing sort of happen right now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I talk about how empath auras, we just don't always, when you lead with that, you don't always have the bandwidth that the more logical auras have. And that's why the way our society is set up, the people in charge are usually, and there's nothing wrong with this, like red leading, yellow leading, or green leading. So I call it my logic aura color. So they just had more of a buffer. And these are the people that can do more frontline stuff and people that can argue and they don't always care as much. I don't care what you think of me, like that.
Totally.
Yeah. And so our bandwidth is not as big. And that's why we're usually the empaths of society end up as teachers or the caregivers or the helpers or the people kind of behind the scenes. But when we all tap into that collective, we're sharing each other's energy. Like, they want us to think that we're alone. They want you to think you're weak and silly and apart and an island. But what's happening is we're all reaching out, especially when we see this. We're like, actually, no, that's my child that you just separated from their mother. And I do know them because I'm part of a bigger story, and I feel it. And when you feel these things for these children or the people who just don't have the voices, what happens is you're not making it up and you're not a bleeding heart. You're actually feeling it. So it's a voice that I feel like together we can strengthen. I know it sounds so cheesy, but
I think so.
Yeah.
Being human, feeling bad for kids being starved is not like that. Those are more than valid emotions, and I think you're right. It's sometimes I feel like in the last few years it's felt like, well, I don't know where to channel that, or it doesn't feel like if I do anything changes. And that's really how they win. And I think you're right. It's I mean, I'm feeling it from being on this live, like all of your fierce empathy is definitely shining through, and I can feel it. What is your take on another character of the week, Megyn Kelly? Megyn Kelly made these outrageous comments, which we, talked about earlier in the show. If you're just joining, and you haven't been on, you've been, I don't know, doing a digital detox, you may not, know that she is, trying to play down Jeffrey Epstein's obvious pedophilia. And, I saw some old videos of Megyn Kelly when she was on the Today Show, which also feels like a fever dream 10 years ago when when that was happening. And she was much more of a mainstream, she was always pretty conservative, but there were, she just didn't have as fringe beliefs as she does today. And if we all, talking about the first Republican debate, that Republican debate where Donald Trump just, cleaned the floor with everybody, she was moderating that, and at the time really was sort of a kind of feminist, if you want to call a female voice that started the debate by asking Donald Trump if he had insulted women and called them pigs, and could he really be president? So anyway, there's these old videos of Megyn Kelly circulating online where she, I mean, it feels like a different person. She's sort of talking about, I think, Me Too tangentially, because as we remember, another fever dream was when Fox News was sort of held accountable-ish to the sexual harassment that was going on. The sexual harassment off air, because on air, that was fine. And there's many examples of it. But she was, sort of defending women and saying women need to stand up, and we're sort of everything we've been talking about of just, women, if we all stand together and we all stand against what these horrible people are doing to us in the workplace, there's hope. And so, do you have, and I'm, I don't know if you saw these videos or if you followed Megyn Kelly's career very closely, but is there a shift there? Is what's going on with Megyn Kelly?
Yeah, so she has she's yellow purple. And yellows are really good at understanding public vibe and knowing where, I guess, where their niche is, like where can I fit. And so when I see them in front of the cameras, when I see them like in the spotlight, and obvious again, not all yellow purples. I'm just saying her, and then we can make an intention case. But a lot of it is, oh, this will get me attention. Oh, this will get me likes. That they're good at understanding. Like they're the girl in high school that knows exactly what to wear and who to sit with and how to get on the cheerleading squad. Like they understand how these things work in both system slash vibrations.
Got
They're
it.
purple too. So with her, honestly, I think she just does it for I think it's the ego took over. You can have like an ego hijack. We all have our ego. The ego is the human part of us that, is very concerned with survival and our life in the 3D physical world. And some people, it can just go over the top and they can use this lane of public perception and they don't care if it's positive or negative. It's just something. Right. So when she says stuff like this, it's like, oh my, like she's getting off on everyone being like, oh, and because so then she can be like, oh, you all are, and then what does she bash empathy? You all are so sensitive. You all are just raging. You all have nothing else to talk about. It's all just bait and collect. I think this is just her way of getting attention, and again, she eats the energy, and it keeps her in the news cycle, which I think is her priority. And it was back then too. Like if she somehow, I feel like had an avenue to do it in the more left situation, she'd do it there. I feel like she just wants attention, and she's probably just. That's my take on her.
Right. That and you're right. I think it's hard not to see this as a way to also signal to Donald Trump, right? And she's probably in touch with him. There's probably many ways that they're connected, but it's to lessen the blow on Donald Trump, hopefully to probably get something in return. That's okay. Robert asked, "What are Liz's aura colors?" And I'm gonna indulge in that because I've never had my aura read. You have to be honest. You can't just you have to tell me the truth.
I will tell you
Positive and the negative.
No, it's all good. And like I said, auras aren't bad. They're just energies around.
Right, you're right.
I love all aura colors. Okay, so you're actually, and I don't know how you do what you do, Liz, because you're indigo. And and I'm going to talk about, and this will make sense. And everybody who follows me is like, oh yes, how does Liz do what she do? Because but then there's a little bit of purple in there, but then there's like a red kind of like. It's like a sparkly kind of shield. So let me talk about that. Okay. The indigo is the biggest thing I see on you. So that is, when I talk about empath aura colors, like that's one of the most profound. And it's like feeling other people's feelings as your own. But then you got that red. So then you get like pissed off about it. You're like, oh my gosh. So it's like, excuse me. I and then you just can't, you're like, you can't stop. You're like, you're probably up at night thinking about this. Like, because it hurts you so much inside. You're like, I need a plan to change the world, like that. So I feel like with you, that is your big thing. You feel other people's stuff, and then you're very called to activism. And I know everything that you do, but I can see where it's really hard to be indigo because you can get burned out real quick and you need like alone time and you need to kind of isolate and you need to be, all right, I need to turn everything off and just be alone. You need to really have your downtime in order to remember who you are again. That's like one of the pitfalls of being indigo. You just need to repair like that.
Wow. You read me to a T. That is, I don't need therapy anymore. I just saved $10,000. No, that resonates, and I'm sure resonates with a lot of people. I think in our community who are listening today. I think the reason why I started airplane mode was literally that, because I need to go on airplane mode. I had this ritual where on the weekends, I do work on the weekends, which I'm working on that. Working on not working. But one of the things I would do is on Sundays, I would put my phone on airplane mode and then I'd go to a diner alone. I'd have a copy of the New York Times, in paper, and I would eat pancakes. And that was my, if I went on airplane mode for a few hours, I could recharge and do, keep doing the work that I do. And so the name of the, our community is really based on sort of what you shared. And I think I think a lot of people, feel that. I think a lot of people, it's a hard time to be an empath. It's a hard time to have empathy. It's a hard time to be informed. And I still think you can have that, and not burn out. I think there's this temptation right now to, I know I feel it. Some days I'm like, I'm done. I'm not gonna care about what's going on in the news because I can't handle it, and it's affecting my health. It's affecting my mental health. I can't stop scrolling. I can't stop thinking about it. But then you take take a nap. You do
Yeah,
something nice for yourself, and then you're like, oh, I'm ready to go.
that's
Let's
right.
let's fucking do this. And
Yeah.
I think that's a thing that I know I need to hear sometimes, which is like, you don't need to quit, you need to rest, and I think it's really important for us to do that more than ever, even on weeks where it feels like kind of hope scrolling. I feel like I've been hope scrolling a little bit,
Yes.
and you did an aura reading of Zoran Mamdani. Maybe we should end on a positive, because, well, wait, I want you to do Chuck Schumer. I want you to do Chuck Schumer because he's been a lot. Oh my God, 666. People were joining. So Chuck Schumer has been a little bit, as we all. It's been a week. Okay, there was a shutdown also that ended.
It's been a lot.
And yeah, a lot of, I think, has happened. And Chuck Schumer was disappointing, I think, to a lot of progressives, perhaps a lot of people who are on this live right now. What does Chuck Schumer need to do differently? What's going on with Chuck Schumer, or does he not have the aura that you need to lead?
Yeah, he's red. Chuck Schumer's red blue, and I feel like with him, he gets stuck in his idea. So red blues, the combo itself, um, like they can get stuck in kind of like the way they do things all the time, and they have a hard time sometimes adapting or pivoting or getting like, let's get creative, like let's try a
Uh,
different way. So I feel like
yeah,
with him, it's about reflecting. It's probably from all his career, he's so used to just sticking to a point,
right.
or like not backtracking or not reflecting or never like that kind of thing, that it's just stale
Yeah.
and it's not working, and he's and sometimes red blues can have a hard time listening to advice, or listening to different or new ways of doing things. They're like, you don't know, you don't know, you don't know.
Mhm.
And sometimes red blues too, they take too much ownership on themselves. It's like, this isn't just you. Like, this is
Yeah.
everybody. So we all
Mhm.
have to kind of like, you got to listen to other ideas and stuff. So I feel like he's just stale and he's got to, but he feels
This
more
Yeah.
salvageable than other people. But I do feel that that is his problem. He's stale. And I think that's a problem with a lot of people who are
Well,
running the country. It's a lot of stale energy.
yeah, dude. Oh my God. You're just like reading people for filth. You're like, that's exactly right. Because yeah, the sense I get from a lot of politicians right now, and I think it is why so many of us are frustrated, is that they're operating in the old environment of what it meant to be a politician, and what was normal, what was not normal, what you did in a crisis, how you answer, and it's just all of the rules have changed. We've talked about this on a previous lab, but people are like, well, Democrats are playing checkers and Republicans are playing chess, and it's like, no, Donald Trump came and flipped the whole board.
Yeah.
And so you are still talking about a board that doesn't exist, even though for your entire career there was a board. Now it's gone, and I think that's what people are really sort of craving. And this is really good analysis. So okay, let's finish on a positive. So Zoran Mamdani, what's going on there? What should we be? I mean, I think I know, but what's your analysis?
Well, this is why, and this is probably why everybody's coming at him, like from some sides, and they're saying like just these claims,
Mhm.
about him. He's a double empath. He's blue and purple in politics. You never see this.
Mm.
You never see this. So he's really empathic and he's really feisty. That's the purple, is the feistiness.
Wow.
And he's creative, obviously, and he's got a way of connecting. Sometimes like purple energy and sometimes purple blue together energy can feel younger too, which
Okay.
is interesting. Like they can be older and feel younger, so the connecting to that is interesting. He
Mm.
does wear red. You can wear an aura color sometimes,
Okay.
like a hat or whatever. Sometimes he wears red when he gets fired up. Sometimes I'll see it in his pictures. It's like, whoa, he was fired up, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I do feel like he's got the chops to, yeah, obviously, and we've seen him defend himself or what, but the thinking on his feet and the creativity. Anyways, it's very odd to see a purple blue politician who gets elected, who makes it. Kamala was actually purple blue, which I think was
Interesting.
part of the problem. Yeah.
That it's like contradictory in a way, that they're holding contradictions.
Yes. Yeah. And it's also, they don't always appear tough enough or something. That can be one of the things they get hit up about.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to end it there, but Ashley Clare said, "Can you talk about JD Vance? I'm scared about him being president." What's your read on JD?
Oh, this
He's
is a
been
moment.
oddly
Okay.
silent this week.
JD. JD is interesting to me because there's this whole, it's an aura phenomenon. I call it, here we go. It's called the chameleon aura. Everyone watching, and you all know somebody like this, by the way.
Yes.
So somebody who is a chameleon aura, usually I'll see it as a purple blue guy. Now, let me back it up. Purple blue, as you can imagine, being a double empath man in our society can be very difficult because society tells you you're not man enough or tough enough for all those things.
Yeah.
And over time, and this isn't all purple blue men, but sometimes I'll see these guys turn into chameleon auras. And these are the people that, it's like a whole weird phenomenon I see. They mold.
Yeah.
They're chameleons. They're like, who do you want me to be? Who do you want me to be? For approval. They need approval. They need approval. And they tend to pick the most disgusting people to get it from, because those feel like it's, I had to work for it because they're so low self-worth. They'll never get it, but they're always seeking it. Anyways, it's the chameleon aura thing. And
it's so true.
And they get petty, and they get like really, and all their empathy. It's funny because they have double empath, so you think that they have care and compassion for themselves, and if it affects them, but they hold a grudge, and they can be very tough. Yeah, like Voldemort's rat guy, someone said. That is so funny.
Is funny. Robert said, wait, I thought he didn't have an aura, which is funny too. I think that is such a good read of JD Vance. In his book, he actually talks about having all of these different, his dad sort of abandoned them. And it really confirms your theory, which is he had all these stepdads that he had to gain the approval of. And these were, there was always sort of a new figure, that there were several of them, and they weren't, they sort of, I don't know, they were discussing, but they were definitely, if they didn't stick around, there was an issue or dysfunction there. And so what you're saying is exactly right. And I think we can totally see that in, obviously, in his career as a politician. But let's remember, JD Vance was Peter Thiel's intern, okay? That's how it all started. And he was a chameleon for Peter Thiel, and he's become a chameleon, or he became a chameleon to get elected, and then, was like, Trump is Hitler, and now is like, no, Trump is, the best person on earth.
Right.
And it'll be interesting. I mean, that's one of the reasons I feel like he might never be president, because that's not the energy that that gets you the presidency.
No.
He isn't his own person. He can't be a leader. He's a follower. And so I think that protects us a little bit but then I'm like, well, who is it going to be? And it's probably not going to be better. So it's not necessarily a positive, but yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think just based on the way that he grew up, I mean, we know all these people are traumatized. I mean, Donald Trump is an unhealed man, just a textbook. And, many people heal and do the work and don't, hurt people, don't hurt people. But I think what we're seeing unfold is just their trauma. And unfortunately, just taking it out on the entire world. So yeah, wow. This was so fascinating, very comprehensive. I want to do this every week. You're amazing. Mystic Michaela, everyone should go follow your Substack. It is so fun. You have such a perfect mix of, in-depth understanding and analysis. It's such a fun way to look at the world. And I don't know anyone else who's doing it the way that you are doing it. So everyone should go follow your Substack. And I hope we do this again.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks so much for having me, Liz. I really appreciate you bringing me into your little community. I've been really enjoying watching everything that you do and all the insight you bring.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Have a great weekend, everybody. And yeah, take naps, take pauses, go on airplane mode. You indigo cutie pies. I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.